is good sleep essential for a depressed person?
Well, no, a good sleep is essential for health in general. You know, for years, decades, scientists have been trying to figure out, why do we sleep, right? Why do we need to spend 1/3 of our life in bed? And they finally found out it's for the brain, because the brain needs to repair and regenerate itself. And if you're not getting good sleep, it's the brain that's affected. And if the brain is affected, the mood is affected. And you know, poor sleep is like the canary in the coal mine for depression. What I mean by that is, I always knew or could predict a depressive episode was coming on for me when my sleep started to get disrupted. That was always the first clue that something was off. It's a huge part of mood disorders, both anxiety and depression, is poor sleep.
So what are some of the sleep problems a depressed person faces?
Okay, so there's a number of different things that people with depressed deal with in terms of sleep. The first is common insomnia, which is difficulty falling asleep, right? Sitting in bed, can't relax, you're ruminating. But the one that I suffered from, and most of the people I know, is the difficulty in staying asleep. I used to fall asleep okay, but then I would wake up 2, 3 in the morning, and my mind would be spinning like this. I'd be ruminating, agitated. You've had that experience, right? The middle of night awakenings, and then you're just driving yourself crazy. And the third problem, and I didn't realize this until I was in a halfway house in Berkeley in 1976, one of the, unfortunately, many times I had to go into an institution when my depression overtook me, was there was a gal there who I became quite friendly with, and she was sleeping 18 hours a day. You ever know anybody like that? So sometimes people either sleep too much or they sleep too little. So those are the things that can go wrong with a person's sleep.
So what are some good habits that will help to ensure a good night's sleep?
So you know, they say an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So there's a book I recommend in healing from depression called No More Sleepless Nights, and they talk about a couple of things which I have found very helpful for myself and for others. One is to develop a regular sleep schedule, which means basically try to get to sleep at the same time and wake up at the same time. Erratic sleep schedules, especially for people out there who are bipolar, are the kiss of death. Other thing is reduce caffeine and alcohol consumption. I'm very sensitive to caffeine, so if I have a cup of coffee at 5 in the afternoon, you know, I'm still wired late into the evening. And not everybody has that sensitivity. And here's the other thing. I know a guy who lives in Portland who likes to drink alcohol to wind down before bed. Not a good idea, because even though alcohol helps relax you and helps you fall asleep, it disrupts your sleep. So that you'll wake up a couple hours later, not be able to go back to sleep. I don't know the exact chemistry, but anywhere you look and read or do research, alcohol before bed is not recommended. So cut down on the alcohol, cut down on the caffeine. Also, the bed should be associated only with sleep and for sex, and not for, like, you know, studying and eating. It should only be there set aside for sleep. And also, because melatonin is the chemical that the pineal gland releases, you know, in the brain to tell you when to go to bed, it's light sensitive. When you're asleep, make sure that all the shades are down and there's no artificial light coming into the room. Okay. And finally, 2 other things actually. One is, okay, so you're a little, you know, uptight, tense in the night. Instead of drinking alcohol, do some progressive muscle relaxation, some of the relaxation techniques we're going to talk about in another video, and turn off the video, turn off the computer at least an hour before you get to bed. And then finally, regular exercise during the day, which is my #1 go-to strategy for depression. When you exercise hard during the day, you're going to fall asleep much more quickly. And last possible thing, this is important because one of my depressed clients had, there's actually a number. There's something called sleep apnea. Have you ever heard of it?
Yeah,
a person wakes up many times during the night, hundreds of times sometimes, because they stop breathing. When you wake up in the morning of that, you do not feel rested. So if you're waking up, especially if you're a bit overweight, you may want to get evaluated at a sleep clinic for sleep apnea, because that can really disrupt sleep and lead to a major problems in your health overall.
So are there any medications that help sleep?
Yes, too many, too many. So many prescribed, okay? So yes. Okay, so here's the thing about sleep and medications. I mean, so many people are out there. What is there? Lunesta, Ambien. There are these new sleep medications that weren't around when I was basically getting trained in psychology. There's Valium. There's there's Ativan, Xanax, Klonopin. Okay, the minor tranquilizers, the benzodiazepines, are often prescribed to people to help relax them to go to sleep. The problem is that these are only supposed to be used for 2 or 3 weeks max. They're short-term medications and they can lead to dependency and addiction. The other drugs for sleep, I mentioned Ambien, same thing, only for short-term use. Now the problem is that people start to get dependent upon them. They can't stop getting off. They need them, and they can't cut them out after 2 or 3 weeks. So what is the alternative in terms of medications? Well, there are 3 antidepressants that are very helpful for relaxing people, and they are not habit-forming. The first is Elavil, which is what I still take. It's an old antidepressant. Way back in the 50s it was discovered. It was discontinued because it was considered a dirty antidepressant, meaning that it caused too much sedation. Well, guess what? If you're at night and you're taking this drug, you want to be sedated. And these antidepressants I'm talking about, you only have to take them in small doses, not at therapeutic doses, because you're not trying to cure depression, you're just trying to relax yourself. Besides Elavil, there's something called Remeron, and there's Trazodone. Any one of your viewers who has been through sleep problems probably has been prescribed one of these medications. So this is what I recommend: Elavil, Trazodone, or Remeron for sleep problems. And you can take them as long as you want to, and you don't have to worry about getting hooked on them at all.
And what if I get up in the middle of the night and find my mind is ruminating or very anxious?
How many times has that happened with all of us? Dozens, right? First thing is not to panic. Nobody ever died of insomnia. So what I try to do is I try to use a relaxation technique like counting sheep backwards, following my breath. There's an affirmation that was given to me years ago that helped by a 13th century monk. It goes something like this: all shall be well, and all shall be well, and all manner of things shall be well. You just repeat that over and over again. All shall be well, and all shall be well, and all manner of things shall be well. It's really, really reassuring. Yeah. So you do that a couple of times, and every time your mind wanders and starts to ruminate, you come back to that phrase, or your breath, or you're counting backwards to 100. These are all centering techniques. And keep doing that for a while, and you'll fall back to sleep. Now, let's say 30 minutes, 40 minutes goes back and you're not asleep. Get up and do something productive. Do the laundry, clean the dishes, pay some bills, be productive, read a book. That always helps me. And don't worry about it. When you're tired, you'll go back to sleep and things will be kind of right themselves. So the important thing is, if you're still ruminating after a couple of, a period of time, just get up and go with the flow and try to do something. Eventually you will get back to sleep. The good news is that once the depression and once the anxiety have been resolved, once they've been handled, the sleep problems will go away. So it's not a permanent thing. It will pass, just like the depression will pass.